G'day everyone, welcome to Eco Convos with Dan. Today, very special guest. My mate Davey Hooker came in to have a chat with us today. Now, I met Davey a couple of years ago, and the land he bought out at Curra was parched, it was dead. What he's done over those last few years has been nothing short of amazing. Full market garden, mate, this guy knows his stuff. Today we talked about Syntropic Agroforestry. Now, bit of a word to get your head around. You'll know exactly what it means by the end of the episode. Have a listen. Look forward to talking to you soon. And welcome to Eco Convos with Dan. I'm your host, Dan Vanderhook, and we are here live in the Century 21 Platinum Agent Studios here in Gympie, talking everything regeneration, off-grid living, and soft sustainability. Tonight, my guest is my good mate, Davey Hooker, and we're going to be talking, well, not all things Syntropic Agroforestry, because that's going to go on for a while, but we're going to talk a little bit. So ultimately, mate, what's Syntropic Agroforestry?
Well, Syntropic Agroforestry is really a sense of a set of principles.
Okay.
So they're guidelines that really tell you how nature works,
Yeah.
how it moves from one stage to another. So nature is always going forward.
Yeah.
So it's always trying to evolve to the next stage. So what we try and do in Syntropic Agroforestry is plan out how nature is going to evolve in our systems so that we can achieve maximum growth, maximum profit and product,
Yep.
and quality, and improve the soil.
So there's kind of a sense in, almost manipulating that. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It all really comes down to stratification.
Okay.
So when we talk stratification in general, we generally talk height.
Yeah.
But that's not really true in Syntropic Agroforestry. So in Syntropic Agroforestry, what we try and do is understand the role of the plant in its native origin, and where it's at in basically its relation to light in a forest or in its original setting, whatever that might have been.
So that's looking at what it would be in nature on its own, and saying, well, I'm going to recreate that for you.
Yeah. So, for example, but we look at it over time as well.
Okay.
So that's where that also comes into play in planning in Syntropic Agroforestry, so that we don't have gaps when we're growing produce. So we're always, having a crop coming out all the time.
Yeah.
But this level of stratification relates, as I said, to light. So a corn can be an emergent. It's a top level. Yep. Even though it's not the biggest plant around, it's still an emergent plant. It has a high requirement for sunlight.
Yes, okay.
Just as a papaya or a pecan has that high requirement for sunlight. So when we plan things out, we basically layer our forest so that it's manipulating that sunlight and spreading it where we want it to go, so that everything's receiving its maximum amount of sunlight, and it creates basically a biotic pump in the soil. So when that's all occurring naturally, or as we've set it up to plan, it creates a biotic pump which basically enriches the entire environment, creates more water on the land, a huge amount of soil is created. Takes nature about 100 years, I believe, to produce an inch of soil.
Wow.
Whereas in agroforestry, we can do that every year.
Wow. So in terms of creating soil, I mean, that's going to be the lifeblood of your plants, second to water. So in terms of the building up that soil, how does that happen through Syntropic Agroforestry?
So again, we go back to the principles of nature. So nature's constantly pruning itself.
Okay.
They've done research that shows that nature, like a forest, is 20% of the time actually self-pruning.
You're right.
And continually moving forward to a new stage. So, and when it does, that new stage, as we said, doesn't, it's always going forward. It doesn't go backwards.
Yeah.
It's always going forward. So it's going on to a greater stage. So when we prune, that's how we basically create movement in the system.
Yeah.
And skip time.
Yeah.
So we can create faster growth and create rich soil. So by using a diverse range of plants and well planned again, we can drop plants on the soil and create new life, new soil, lifeblood, etc.
As it breaks down. So same way when you're walking through through a forest, and there's all the leaf litter on the ground, there's the branches that have fallen, things like that. That's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
So and by going through and doing that, you're pruning at the optimal time for the plants to basically burst with life.
Which is not now.
No.
It's full moon right now, so bad time to prune.
So you're chilling at the moment.
We're planting at the moment, actually. So perfect time to plant, of course, full moon. So, but we're not pruning right now because the lifeblood of the trees is just like the ocean is attracted to the moon. So if you're pruning on the full moon, you're going to be cutting all the life out of the tree. And limiting its growth. So we don't prune on the full moon.
So that's a pretty good principle for everyone to whether you're going into Syntropics or not, whether it's actually just looking actually at the moon cycles and saying, well, this is when I'm going to plant, when I'm going to when I'm going to be pruning. So it's if you're looking at that side of things, when would be the ideal time to prune? So obviously not full moon.
Yeah, so new moon.
New moon. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously the opposite. So everything's kind of retracted.
Yeah. So all the blood is basically down in the roots at that time, so you can prune quite happily. Yeah, that's the best time to prune. Yeah.
Okay, and so pruning on the new moon, planting on the full moon.
That's right.
It's gardening done. That's it. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Now for those other 499 principles.
The rest of it. Yeah. So, mate, I think one of the things that I've seen from Syntropics, from what you've shown me as well, is the variety of plants in the area. So you're looking at different levels of the strata, both above and below the ground.
Yes.
There's can you go into a little bit more about that sort of, it's almost companion planting?
Well, yeah, it's companion planting, but it's more than that. It's so we're creating natural succession. So we're doing successional planting.
Okay.
So when we plant out a consortium, all right, which is just really, it's just a group of plants, and we're going to say, okay, this is how we're going to plant it. We're going to plant 80% emergent plants, which is in this case, say vegetables. All right. So we're going to plant, maybe corn. Okay. Yep. So corn is our emergent. So 80% of that row will be corn.
Yeah.
And then we'll have 60% medium, which we say tomatoes. We'll have 40%. And
that's a lot of percentages.
Yeah, well, that's up to 200% actually in total. But the reason it does that because we're thinking three-dimensionally. So we're thinking in height as well as not just like length and width of a row. We're thinking of the height of the row as well because we're including the sunlight in that equation. So
you've added a whole other axis to it as well. So yeah, fair enough.
Okay. Yeah, so we were basically saying there's over this amount of space, we've got 200% of light coming through at different levels.
Yep. Okay.
And our aim is really to achieve as close to that 200% as we can.
Yeah.
So if we spread out the highs, we're filtering light through to the lows. The lows are all fine; they're happy growing under other things, but other things aren't happy if they're not in their right place. So if we put them in their right place, they'll grow better together.
Yep.
And then once that cycle's finished, we can have a new cycle come through, which might be, say, papaya, coffee, avocados, things like that coming through.
It's constantly got something happening.
Yeah, all the time. So always going forward.
Yeah.
Even in creating biomass. So we specifically plant biomass rows. Where we are, it's quite dry.
Yeah. So what's biomass?
So it's just pruning matter.
Yep. Okay.
So anything that we're pruning off and throwing on the ground is biomass. So we grow that specifically. We target certain types of biomass to grow.
Okay.
But we, chop and drop is another term for it.
Yeah,
for sure. Some plants are far better than others. So generally in agroforestry, bananas are used a lot. So every second metre, we might have a banana tree.
Okay.
And
so why is that?
I'll
get to that. Sorry, I'm jumping in.
And I'm just explaining our biomass row layout.
Yeah.
So, and then every metre, we would have a eucalyptus.
Okay. Eucalyptus in with your veggies. That's interesting.
It is, isn't it?
It's an interesting idea.
And then we might have a whole bunch of pigeon pea in there as well. So a legume. We might have a mavuka, which is basically a mix of native seeds, and we might throw that in there as well. So we've always got plants coming through.
Yeah.
All right, that we're always pruning, and that's basically a row straight down the centre between our tree rows, and we're pruning that to create biomass all the time.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most important part of the system because it's creating everything that we require.
Okay, so as you go through, so for people who don't really know what chop and drop actually is, so in terms of that, am I right in thinking that's just literally going through as you're pruning your trees and going through and you drop it on the ground. You do it around the place so it'll then break down?
Strategically place it or drop it on the ground. Yeah, where it is. Yeah, generally strategically place it.
So that's doing things. Obviously, it's building your biomass. It's building so it'll then slowly break down and actually become soil.
Creating nutrients. So depending on the plants you're growing. So if you're growing, say, legumes, you're going to be bringing nitrogen into the system. Yeah. And eucalyptus, you wonder why we grow eucalyptus. It's a good question.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one.
Because eucalyptus is actually a really, really good biotic pump. Unless it's grown as a monoculture, where it becomes a plant which will literally suck the water out of the ground. But if in its natural environment, which is again what we think about, how we think about these things, a natural environment of eucalyptus, it tends to get more spread out, but there's far more trees and more biodiversity in there. Yeah. So again, we grow eucalyptus because it's a really, really good biotic pump. Okay, it's got full of lots of minerals and things like that. And
so a biotic pump, you've used that a couple of times.
Yeah,
that's a new one on me.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So basically, like all these minerals are all available in the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're creating the right combination of plants in there, you're basically going to create access to these nutrients rather than having to pay for, say, magnesium.
Yeah,
it's there
because it's been attracted.
Yeah, basically we're releasing it through biochemical interactions.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Through plants, basically.
Yeah. So that's just really, really cool.
Yeah. So in our instance where we are, I mean, we do plant bananas and as a biomass. The alternative is a puntia. A puntia is really a pear cactus that grows around that people often refer to as being a bit of a pest, but there's a legal variety and it's exceptional for creating for creating water and nutrients in the very driest environments. So if you were in the middle of a desert, you could plant that and literally start a forest from more or less growing a puntia.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, one of the things I think you just hinted on in terms of what you've been doing as well in terms of transforming your own property.
Yeah.
That was the driest of the dry when you bought that. There's so these processes have actually gone through and transformed it. Yeah. It's been amazing to see the progress.
Yeah, I've got some photos and I'm happy to share them with you. So
we'll pop them up on the screen.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, look, it's not the same property. I mean, and to be honest, we've done a lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
So
that's only natural.
Yeah. I mean, and we've learned from those mistakes. We've gotten better.
Yeah.
Understanding of Syntropic Agroforestry has grown so much.
Yeah.
We're sort of really on a path where we're we're in a position to help people now and really show people how to make this work.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of some of the mistakes you've made, where would you think, what sort of things have you done that you would do differently?
Well, I mean, we had different problems of getting access to plants and things like that during COVID, as I think most people did. So we sometimes had to just rush things a little bit to try and get things done, and we sometimes didn't plan quite as well.
Yeah.
So we made mistakes really in planning. And one of the things that we do in Syntropic Agroforestry to get this right stratification going is we alternate rows of strata. So in one row we'll have emergent and median trees, and in the next row we'll have low and high trees, and that allows us to get a spread of trees and keep it at a reasonable height, because if you grow it all in one row it gets too high.
Yes.
So this way we can manage everything, and that's one of the mistakes that we make, probably still make, is putting a plant really in its wrong place.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's about, is knowing, say, okay, where does a macadamia go? Where does a papaya go? Where does a jackfruit go? I mean, where's its ideal position in this great big orchard or plot?
Yeah.
And how's it going to grow best? How's it going to make other plants around it grow best?
So is that something you can research, or is that something that is a trial and error sort of thing?
Well, fortunately, the information's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's information out there which will tell you. So there's a book written by Eucalyptus, which is a community in Brazil.
Yeah.
That do a lot of research. They've been doing research for a long time in this. They've got a linkage to a number of different universities over there, but they've got basically a community participant seal on everything. So they put forward stuff and say this is as a peer reviewed body.
Yeah.
We sort of saying this has been accepted. So they're quite a good body, and they've put forward information. One particular called Agroforesting the World from Machete to Tractor. So saying how you can do this small scale, or how you can do it on 1,000 acres, whatever you like. Yeah.
So it really is something that can be applied to your backyard, your backyard sort of garden through to your mega money making producing crops. It's
absolutely. I mean, if you were looking for new ways to go in big agriculture, this is definitely the way to go. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's been shown. There's a film released fairly recently, I think, called by Happen Films, called The Food Forest Farmers.
Yes. About
a group of Syntropic agroforesters in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I mean, what's been achieved there, as a prime example, and this story goes wherever you go. Like Ernst's story, the original founder. I mean, his story of regenerating 400 hectares in 20 years and bringing it back to rainforest and now growing the best cocoa in the world. These stories of Syntropic agroforestry and how it's literally a set of principles which, if you follow, you can turn your whole landscape around very quickly.
Yeah, so it really is quite transformative.
Yeah, but the stories are everywhere, and I mean, we're doing the same here.
Yeah.
So understanding it is really revolutionary, whether you're a big scale, large farmer, or whether you're a guy with a small little backyard or whatever. It's it can literally change your environment.
Principles can work.
Yeah.
And that's I think the biggest thing. I mean, you talk to some people like, I haven't got the soil for that, or I haven't got the ground for that, and that that can be very, very easily changed.
Well, that's actually, you touched on something really interesting there, because people always say like, oh, I've got terrible soil.
Yeah.
Well, see, Syntropic Agroforestry, we don't believe that there's any such thing.
Okay.
Because we're creating our soil.
Yeah.
and we're unlocking the nutrients in our soil all the time. So we're consistently transforming the soil, and within 5 years, you can turn the worst soil into literally lush, soil that's got a smell, it's got texture, it's got fungi through it, rich black color. I mean, it's easy to do, really.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time.
Understanding principles, understanding how things move and go from one stage to another. Yeah.
Okay. So if someone was to say, right, this is what I want to do. Where do they go from having that little bit of inspiration?
Well, look, you can do it a couple of ways. You can either do it yourself.
Yeah.
Go off, do your research, find out about it, or you can call someone like me.
Yeah.
So if people want to get hold of me and say, I want to do Syntropic Agroforestry, show me how to do it.
Yeah.
How to do it right. Because the thing is, I guess there's two things that you can do really, really, the best thing in life to do. One is good agroforestry.
Yep.
The second best thing is bad agroforestry.
At least you're doing agroforestry. Yeah.
I mean, look, in all honesty, as long as you're doing agroforestry, you're doing a really amazing thing.
Yeah.
If you want to do really good agroforestry, that's another thing.
Yeah.
And how you do a good agroforestry is really going, okay, well, we're going to have a plan of a plot.
Yep.
That say, once from the day that we start sowing that whole area.
Yep.
We've got a crop coming out in 3 months. Got a crop coming out in 6 months, 9 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, and they're not all the same crop.
No.
So we'll have radish, lettuce, cauliflower. Later on we'll have like papaya, things like that, and then oranges later on, and then all sorts of different exotic fruits, peaches, coconuts, all that sort of thing. So the plan goes on. If you've planned it well, you'll always be having that endless supply of really good crops coming through all the time.
So if you've got that sort of thing happening, in your own garden, what's the upkeep? How much work is it to keep up something like that? Just say standard town block of land. Again,
it comes back to doing good agroforestry or bad agroforestry. Yeah. So I guess the great example is like if you do it right, it's actually really quite easy to maintain.
Yeah.
But if you do it wrong, you're going to be chasing your tail all the time. So again, it comes back to understanding the principles of how to layer a system, how to plan it right.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is understanding how to plan it. And once you have the plan there, its implementation is quite simple, really.
So you said people can talk to someone like yourself. How would someone get in touch with you?
Well, I mean, they can look us up on Instagram. So Sanctuary Syntropic Farm, they can get hold of me there.
Yeah.
I guess they can grab my number if there's an attachment somehow to the end of this. Or
we can do that. Absolutely.
Anything like that is fine. I mean, we do run courses. We have a course and a build coming up at Kwongba, down the Sunshine Coast, so we can give a link for that. So that's a couple there that are implementing. They want to be the first Syntropic farm in Brisbane. So so I'm running a course down there, and we're implementing about a 1/4 acre there. So not a huge farm, but
it's a good starting point, though.
It's not bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you can get something like that where it starts off, and if you've got something that can then inspire other people, well, that's that's
I mean,
unreal.
the thing is, and with Syntropic farming, a 1/4 acre is it's like equivalent to 5 acres or something like that of normal types of farming. So it's a significant amount for 2 young people.
So what in particular makes it? Is it are you able to grow things closer together in terms of that? And is that why do you say it's equivalent?
Because we don't just work on one dimension.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we're growing so your traditional citrus farmer.
Yep.
All right. He's going to grow rows and rows and rows of oranges. All right. Well, there's whole rows underneath there, whole rows on top of there that aren't being utilised. In fact, the plant's not actually that happy because it's not growing in its right environment. So it's already going to be fighting itself to grow.
Yeah.
So if you've got other plants around, such as so you can grow with citrus. You can grow pineapples.
Yeah.
So huge amount of pineapples in there. You can grow a whole range of things. Pecans on top.
Yeah.
In citrus rows.
So would I be right in thinking if you're doing that as well, and you're having that variety and that diversity of plants going on in that same area, you're bringing all different minerals in. You're actually keeping it a bit more healthy and happy in the soil as well as up on top.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the quality of Syntropic food, when it's done right, is exceptional. It's outstanding.
Yeah.
My mum came around the other day, last week. She drops in occasionally, and she came around and she was blown away. She said, "Oh my God, even your weeds look healthy." And Dan, you remember my place? My place was, it was just so hard. It was rock hard.
The soil didn't have a color. It was grey. It was dry. It was it was pretty parched, mate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and
you wouldn't believe there that you could turn that into, a place that's now producing, whole different ranges of fruit. I mean, we're growing there, sapodillas and sapote and all these things that you couldn't grow in that ground.
I thought you were off your face when you honestly when you called me up and you said, "Hey Dan, this is what I'm doing. You should come and check it out." I was like, "What have you been smoking?" Mate. What you started with was just
it's hard work.
It was hard. And it was hard. It was hard ground and
the hardest time too. Actually, during COVID, it was hard.
It
was hard to get hold of stuff. And it was a challenge.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. All the you couldn't buy anything commercially.
Oh, we couldn't
get out and see people.
Yeah, well, and people couldn't come and do the plant with us. Yeah. So it worked both ways. I mean, we did plan to have a whole bunch of people. We ended up doing it all ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's a huge task to achieve. Not trying to sort of blow our own horn here, but in a year and a half to have turned an acre and a half, close to 2 acres there, into something which is now full of life for a start, literally full of life. Some people, just can't believe that we've had 14 months of drought and things like that. It's lush.
Yeah, well, it is, and that's the thing that was when I went over there and saw the difference from what it was to and that was still relatively early days. It was incredible, the difference, and it's just it's time, love,
and it's getting better all
process.
the time. And we're getting better at implementing it all the time. So where we find that we've done things wrong, we change and we move on, and it's getting better all the time. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. So is there anything you can't do?
Anything we can't grow?
Anything Syntropics can't do. It really seems like it's a win-win for everyone. It's good for the environment. It's good for the soil. It's good for production. It's good for everything. Is
Well, look, I honestly think that it's it can it obviously creates community for a start. In fact, that's one of the things that they've seen is that it transforms communities. So it brings communities out of poverty.
Yeah,
it brings wealth to communities. It changes people's lifestyles. It heals the ground. It does. Yeah, look, it's the best thing I've ever seen. It literally, and I've done a lot of research in a lot of different fields, and as you know, and I have never seen anything like this. So life transforming, so powerful. It literally could save the planet from annihilation with what we're doing to it.
Yeah.
And it can create a new world. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's is there some actual real life examples of this in practice? How it's actually going through and changing communities?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's all sorts of work. So like in Haiti and places like that where they've gone in and turned communities around. I've got friends in Bali at the moment who are implementing stuff over there. In Brazil, all sorts of places. Yeah, there's plenty. You can, if you want to find that stuff out. I can't give you specific examples on the spot right now, but absolutely, if you can find them. Yeah,
that's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
how did you hear about it in the first place? Because I'd never heard of it before talking to you. You know, I mean, we'd sort of talk. You know, I've learned about a lot of other different things along the lines, and then all of a sudden you came out and hit me with this. You know, on Syntropic Agroforestry. And,
yeah. Oh, look, I mean, we were just saying how hard the ground was.
Yeah.
At my place. All right, so, of course, everybody that I spoke to said, permaculture is the bomb. You go through permaculture and you read all about the permaculture and all that sort of thing, and it really doesn't teach you how to grow anything really well. In fact, I applied permaculture principles and I couldn't get corn above 2 feet.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty common story in Curra.
Yeah.
Whereas as soon as I started down the path of Syntropic Agroforestry, and just looked, it was really just a matter of looking for methods. And in fact, really it came up through different types of research. So I was looking at what the UN was doing. The UN was sort of saying, so agroforestry is basically saving nations in Africa and things like that. They're saying it's the best thing for places like that. So I just saw all that stuff and I just got a bit interested in it, started doing the research about it, and applied it and found out that I could grow corn. I think I'm the first person in Curra to grow corn.
I would think you probably would be. It's, the whole area's certainly got a bit of a reputation for being that hard soil, and some areas are good and other areas not so much. Yeah. And you bought one of the not so much properties, and so. Yeah, so in terms of your corn now, how's it going? What sort of heights?
Well, we're past corn season now, so
okay. How high were you getting before?
it was up. There was up to a couple of meters. So yeah,
that's
2 point something.
Yeah, so from 2 feet to over 6 feet. That's that's unreal.
Yeah, well, we've got. I've got plants there now that have been in the ground. Such a short amount of time, and they're just skyrocketing. It's unbelievable the amount of growth, whether they're eucalyptus or whether they're bananas, or anything like that. They're just they're
just
really
loving
responding.
the environment.
Yeah. As long as we follow those principles,
Certainly.
always. So if we're late on pruning, something like that, something gets an age gets to the system, things like that. Well, then the system suffers a bit. Or if we fail to do something here or there, then but generally.
All right. Yeah. So, what do you reckon? What if you could say five tips? Five tips for people to actually to get started in Syntropic Agroforestry. Where would you go?
I'd find a good teacher.
Okay.
I would. I'd find a good teacher. Your best start is always going to be find somebody that knows how to do it, preferably somebody that's a farmer, not just somebody that's teaching, but somebody that is so our business, obviously,
of course,
Sanctuary Syntropic Farm. You can contact us, and there's other guys around. The quality of the teaching might vary.
Yep.
But as long as they implement and show you how to do it, you should be right.
All right.
Yeah, that's number one.
So find a good teacher.
Find a good teacher.
Yep.
Start.
Start.
I guess start by doing some reading.
Yeah.
So reading things like Agroforestering the World from Machete to Tractor.
Yep.
There's Abundance Agroforestry, a syntropic farming guidebook. They're both quite good books. There's other ones out there as well. So, do a bit of reading, do a bit of research. And then I'd say start, plan.
Yep.
Plan. And then maybe plan some more.
So would that be 3 and 4? Plan and then plan some more?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Really, you really see the difference between going agroforestry, bad agroforestry, good agroforestry again is in planning that so that your succession is going perfectly through time.
Yeah.
So, as you go from, year 1 to year 30, it's just flowing the whole time. So, you've got to plan that well. So, if you don't plan it well, it's going to set you back every time. So, plan and plan. Yeah, definitely.
Plan.
Yeah.
All right.
and then plant.
And then plant.
Yeah, just do it at that stage. I mean, like, it's not something that's like overwhelmingly scary.
Yep.
You know, it's certainly something that anybody can do, without a doubt. Yeah.
And it's a big part of it would be don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, we have a culture where we're almost afraid to plant.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
well,
like if I plant this tomato,
I'm going to do it wrong.
You know what happens when Serge comes around and sees my tomato and says, "Oh, my tomatoes are bigger than that." And he's like, you know.
Yeah. Mate, look, I appreciate your time. I'm gonna go through a couple of questions for you that I ask everybody. This is the 6 in 60. So, mate, 6 questions, 60 seconds to answer them. Nice and quick ones.
All right. I'll try and be quick.
You got it. You can do it. So, what's a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Probably just being incredibly over-passionate. Yeah.
Over-passionate.
Yeah.
That's a good quality, actually. So, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received. Move on.
Move on?
Yeah.
Nice it. One thing that you're most fired up about today?
Today. Right this very second.
What are you the most fired up about?
New files that I got from my chainsaw.
Hey, it's you can be excited about the little things.
I don't know. On a grand scale, I'm excited that there is some movement in the world towards regenerating it.
Yeah.
So whether that is enough to change everything, I don't know, but I'm excited about that.
It's got to start somewhere. Absolutely. If you could recommend just one book or podcast to our listeners, what would it be?
This one?
Yeah. I love it. So, what personal goals are you hoping to achieve this year?
To expand Syntropic Agroforestry in this community, in Queensland, really in this nation, to, I guess, change the face of Australian agriculture, change our soils. So, I'm looking to find projects that are hard, like mine, to turn them around and, reforest Australia where it's needed. Because we've done so much damage here. It's ridiculous.
It's one of those things. That's a recurring story that you hear from so many people, from farmers as well, and multi-generational farmers who are saying, "Hang on, this isn't right." It's very, very exciting to see that change is happening. So, mate, last question. This is the mystery question we always have. So, a movie that from your childhood. What was the movie and what happened that scarred you the most?
Oh my God! Really?
You tell me yours. I'll tell you mine.
Oh man, look, there was this film called Grizzly.
Grizzly, okay.
And it had this scene where, like, obviously it was all about a grizzly, hey, ripping and shredding. And it had this girl. She went and had a shower under a waterfall.
Yep.
And this bear came and shredded it. Oh man, that just terrified me.
Just broke you.
I couldn't sleep, I think, for weeks after that. Yeah.
Sorry, how old were you at that time?
Good God, I don't know. 7 or 8 or something.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been watching it, put it that way.
I was the same. I was probably 8 or 9.
I think my sister showed me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's always the siblings, isn't it? So I was about 8 or 9. It was it. And I still, to this day, I look and check twice before I walk past stormwater drains. I just can't do it. I find it really, really tricky. As silly as that is. But, before we go, I just want to give you the opportunity to, if you've got a challenge or anything you can put out there to the world.
To the world.
Mate,
I want to issue, I guess, a bit of a challenge, I guess, to look, people in my general community, for sure. So in the Wide Bay community, to really take on agroforestry. One, because it'll change your life, but it'll also change the environment and it will create micro basins. So, it will change your community as well.
So it changes everything around you as well.
Yeah. So I'd really like to challenge people locally to do that. For the rest of the world, pull your finger out and get into it, Stop stuffing around. Yeah, stop throwing plastic around and, plant some trees, do some stuff like that.
Perfect. Davey, mate, you're an absolute hive of information. And I really appreciate your time coming on here and having a chat with everyone.
A headache of information. Yeah.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say headache. No, I wouldn't say, not to your face. So,
That's it.
So, David, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And so for anyone out there who's wanting to get into Syntropic Agroforestry, start learning, do some research, have a chat with Davey or people like him. And, mate, we're going to give your Instagram, give your business a bit of a plug. And, yeah, we'll get on to the next courses that you get running.
Yeah.
Mate, that'd be fantastic.
I'll throw all that up for you.
That'd be great. Excellent, mate. Thank you again. And to all our listeners and viewers, cheers.
Syntropic Agroforestry. What a topic. I really hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. It was awesome. Make sure you give Davey a follow on Sanctuary Syntropic Farm. Give us a like, share and a follow on all the social channels and wherever you hear your podcasts. It's good chatting with you. Talk to you later.